Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this installment of the Warrant Committee, January 10th, 2022. I'm happy to call the meeting to order. Lynn, do you want to take the roll?
Sure. We have George, John,
Yep.
Christine, Lorraine, Steve, Kristen, Kathy, JJ, Dave, Emily, and Erin.
Terrific. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time once again. The minutes of our last meeting, January 3rd's meeting and 5th are still being drafted. Of course, the 3rd was a marathon meeting, so that will take us a little while, but that's perfectly fine. You should have received a draft of that already. So you can review that at your leisure. We do not have to vote on it, but let's go right to our articles. Which we've already have a sense of. We voted on a couple of them, but now here's the language for recommendations, which we're required to vote on. So Lynn, do you want to screen share the sewer betterment article that we voted on? We'll do these first.
Sure, just give me 1 second.
Take your time, you're doing fine.
Lynn, I had to share my screen earlier today for a work meeting, and I was so overwhelmed with the pressure. So I just want to say kudos to you for doing this. It is unbelievable.
Here we go.
And look, you made it happen.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so here it is. This is the language for the recommendation. The language in here for the amount was, I believe, up to 840,000. That we were going to recommend. I'm just looking for my notes because $1,250,000 was the max number on this. And we already sent, was it 425 or 450? I'm looking for my note on this one. Kathy, you might have this.
Yeah, Kathy should know.
450 was approved before?
Yeah. Was it 840 or 820, 425 or 450?
He said 450 was approved before.
Okay.
And the addition was, they were talking about 800,000 to 900,000. So I don't have much more than that on my notes.
Okay. I thought we were going to approve up to, if it was 450 that was approved?
Yes.
Yeah. And the note that I have is 1,250,000 is the outer limit of this. So we had determined that we would give them some latitude and approve 825,000 or 840,000, but I think 825 should be enough. So do we have a sense that if those red X's where the dollar sign is, if we can put in 825,000, that should cover it, because the number should come in lower than that based on what Chase Berkeley reported to us. Mm-hmm. So if everybody is agreeable on the language, as we have already voted on this, the chair will entertain a motion to send this recommendation to the town meeting.
George, I make a motion to send this to the town meeting.
Thank you, John. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the sewer betterment here? Hearing none, Lynn, please take the roll.
George.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Christine. Yes. Lorraine.
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Kristen.
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
JJ.
Yes.
Dave. Dave.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. No,
All right. Thank you.
Emily.
Yes.
Erin.
Yes.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you. The next article we voted on, recommendation. Lynn, can you put up the home rule, the liquor license at 1 Elliott Street, please, to screen share so we can all see that we're looking at the same language? And we remember the, here we go. Okay, here's the language. You all should have received this and reviewed it. Do we have any discussion on this?
I think it's-
Hearing none. Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to recommend this to the town meeting. Do we have a second?
Second,
Thank you. Lynn, is there any further discussion necessary on the 1 Elliott Street request? Hearing none, Lynn, please take the roll.
George,
Yes.
John,
I would clues myself.
Christine, I'm sorry, Christine, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Lorraine,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes,
JJ,
Yes.
Dave, sorry, Dave, I couldn't hear you either.
Yes.
Emily
Got it.
Yes.
and Erin.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
What article number was that, Lynn?
I'm sorry?
I didn't catch the article number.
Oh, we
The-
don't have numbers yet because we don't have an index. That was
Oh,
the
I
one.
thought we did. Sorry.
Yeah, I wish we did. I mean, Lynn and I were talking about this before. It gets more interesting. The select board is meeting Wednesday night and we'll open the warrant again. And there may be, yeah, exactly. There may be additions, there may be deletions, but they're opening it up again. So we're just voting the articles without numbers because they're not numbered. There is no index yet. So unfortunately, we're going to be in a position where we're going to have to be very adept and forthright in our drafting. I won't use other adjectives because we're being broadcast, but it's okay. We've done this before. So the next item on the agenda is the memory care unit for the proposed sale of the property on Highland Street by Milton Hospital to Northbridge. Lynn, can you put that one up, please? There we go. Okay, great. Okay, that's the let's scroll it back.
This is just, I think Kevin Freitag outlined in his email that he's going to recommend this shorter verbiage.
Yes.
So this is just, I can scroll back to the length of the article, but this is just the.
So that the article wouldn't have to be reproduced in it because it was very lengthy.
Exactly.
And I had consented to that. I said that was wise. But I mean, everybody has received this. I just want everybody to see what we're looking at. So there we are. So can we, if you can scroll back if you want, but I know we've already all seen this electronically. I just wanted to be up there. So we would have a common view of what was happening. So here, we already have taken a vote on this, but now we have to vote on the recommendation to send this to the town meeting to recommend the construct of the memory care unit based on the sale to Northbridge of the property and then fulfilling certain obligations that are being put forward by other committees of the town, et cetera. So the chair will entertain a motion to recommend this to the town meeting.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second,
Thank you, John. Any more discussion on this? I guess the one thing that I would suggest is whoever drafts this comment, there have been representations made about the town residents getting preference. And I think that we should be sure that that's going to be something that we want to be sure that the town meeting understands, that one of the reasons why we are okay with this is that that is going to happen, or that it should happen, and whatever device or mechanism needs to be put in place is by the appropriate authority happens. So Ned, you actually can't be called on because we're in the middle of a vote, but I'll suspend our rules if you have something very quick.
Yeah, I just noticed, I'm not sure that the language that's in front of you is the correct language, because the last draft of the bylaw should be dated December 16, and it strikes reference to assisted living.
Yeah. All right.
And I just noticed at the end that assisted living ALRD is still in this version that's in front of you.
Oh. Well, I'm glad. Well, then I'm glad you're there because I wouldn't have caught that. Can you put that back up again, Lynn?
I think the problem is that I didn't get updated language. I have not received.
I had, I
You-
shared that with town planner and everybody else on the night of the 16th. That should have been updated. There were changes made, mostly stylistic, that dealt with reference to the proper, so it originally was going to be assisted living, memory care, special care. We struck any reference to just assisted living, so that it is clearly memory care.
Oh, this
Anyway,
is this.
I'm not
This
sure.
is yeah. This is unfortunate.
I can, I could email that, I guess, to Lynn right now, and
if you can, that would be helpful because
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised that slipped through a couple of sieves here.
yeah, Lynn, what's your email?
WC in the word clerk at Town of Milton.
WC Clerk, got it.
Thank you, Ned.
And if it's at all helpful, this is Denny from the planning board. I can confirm that the December 16th version is the proper one from the planning board perspective.
The one with the change that Ned described.
Exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
all right,
There were
that's fine.
changes that night and he finalized it that night and forwarded to the select board on December 16th.
Okay, that's good to know. So if we can get that updated language incorporated, then we can still vote on it tonight. All right, so for the time being, I think then while that's underway, we have Denny Swenson here. Denny chairs the planning board. Denny, can you bring us up to date on what's happening with the ADU language? We all received the finalized, I hope finalized version. I mean, what does it look like from here? I know
Okay,
that there changes.
So the planning board's new language was completed last week. As you know, we had dueling meetings going on. Our meeting went a bit later than yours and started a bit earlier than yours. And I noticed some warrant committee members tuning in before and after your meeting. And I wanted to thank them all for doing that and for following that. As a lot of you saw, we were hammering language out into the night. There was a split vote, 3-2, on whether or not to move the article as drafted forward. The vote was 3-2 to send it to the select board to open the warrant and put the new article in. Today, we learned from town council that last week's version, which has changes from the original version, are out of scope.
Yep.
So I have invited town council to attend our planning board meeting this Thursday to discuss next steps with our board. Where the process has been so harried, it's really important that we discuss the latest turn of events and decide together, probably vote out next steps as a planning board this Thursday. I'm guessing. So I do want to explain that since I've been chair of the planning board since May, the accessory dwelling unit article has been on our agenda 16 times. However, we only started discussing it discussing the language. We only started discussing the language on November 17th. And we only had 3 brief discussions prior to that about concepts related to the article. But as you know, getting the language in order is what really counts. And as some of you know from reading the Milton Times, we've been having meetings until midnight, some and past midnight, and so on since November. So it's been a real challenge, but we set aside the time to do it. But as Kathleen said, there was just a log jam at the end of the year. And so summing up, the fact that the proposed changes are out of scope means that the planning board must reconvene and consider next steps.
Okay, Benny, I sympathize with the complexity and with your role, particularly as chair, because after a fashion, you're trying to make eagles fly in formation, which is always a fun thing. Not that we have anything like that on the Warrant Committee, of course, harmonious group of intelligent people who somehow seem to get to the bottom of what we need to. But I will say that this is, I can't pick the right adjective for this because I hear and have heard, as many of the members of the Warrant Committee have, opinions on both sides of this. It's a great idea. We've got to do it. What's the matter with us? And then what are you trying to turn the town into? I'm sure you get that exponentially. So I guess the question, if you can give us some sense, as it was a split vote, get a sense of what the prevailing disagreements are, I guess is the right term. What are the pros and cons, and how do you see this playing out, et cetera? And then we can get to the next steps and how that affects what we have to do.
Yeah, well, there would be quite a list. I think a lot of you talked about them at your last meeting. The as of right versus special permit is a big thing. I've gotten a lot of letters about that. The goal of steering it toward family members versus open market has been a big debate. And this isn't just a big debate on the planning boards, and this is the public debate. This is a big debate. And then the cap's been especially concerning to me because I thought we had a good solution. We do a cap and it's first come, first serve. But then the public came forward with a lot of good questions. If you don't do a cap, you have 7,600 single family houses in Milton. So I think that's why you hear people panicking. If you take away that cap, what happens? And then somehow doing that cap in a thoughtful way. But then there's also this huge discussion about needs-based, that we haven't, I think the way that we have all talked about the concepts for years, we've all talked about aging in place, we've all talked about family, but then the devil's in the details and the proof is in the pudding. What does the language actually say and so forth. So, I will say that I've personally been of the view that we should, in the very least, have more public hearings on this, given the amount of feedback we've received about a variety of concerns. And these questions come from across town, and I called 3 people randomly today to see if they were organized, but they're not organized. According to the 3 people I spoke to, they're just concerned citizens.
Do you really want them to be organized?
No, but I was just kind of wondering, you got one person here, one person like, where is this all coming from? And they're not, according to the 3 random people I called today to try to understand where these things are coming from. And I just also wanted to commend the Warrant Committee members, because I watched the last 2 meetings. I participated in one of them, but I just thought that they asked excellent questions at both of these recent meetings. And you could see the number of topics just coming out of, we could talk all night. I mean, I just thought it was an excellent question that one of the members asked. Well, what about 2 bedrooms? Maybe it should be 1 bedroom. And then there was a discussion that ensued afterward. Well, my parents would want 2 different bedrooms. And that's the thing. It's just a very personal topic. And I think that's why the temperature is kind of high on this one. But then, as I was thinking about that discussion afterward, I said, there's a way to actually study this. We have an in-law apartment article now. We have something like 30 units, right? And we have, we could look into how many of those are 2-bedroom, right? We could look that up. And then we could ask the assessor, well, how much more taxes did they pay after doing this in-law apartment? And then you could say, okay, well, how much more? And would that cover schools if it was a 2-bedroom? And would that cover the infrastructure costs? I mean, that we haven't even gone down that path of trying to understand that, because we thought, well, keeping it as a limit of 10, we just kind of assumed there would be some cost, but we don't. So anyway, it's like one of these things, you open it up and you could explore things for a long time.
So here's the question. One of the people who testified for us last week, Alex Whiteside, we all know Alex, and I think we all know where he is on this, suggested a third-party evaluation. What are your thoughts? I mean, you're chair of the planning board. One of the issues is obviously funding something like this, given the almost visceral nature of this subject, and I don't think that's an exaggerated term. Would it be within reason to think about doing that? And, one thing we can do, because I think we're all interested, obviously we're all in this, we're all residents. I think most of all of us are homeowners. To fund something like this, I have no idea what it would cost, but I think we could get some idea pretty quickly. Is that something that would be helpful, constructive? Because at that point, you'd have some empirical data. You've got somebody with a totally fresh view and who doesn't have an axe in this, who might be able to, consultants being what they are, it at least is a third voice, which may be at the very least objective, dispassionate.
I think that would be a great idea. I think there's a lot of information out there too, just studying what other towns have done.
Oh,
and sort of
definitely.
doing an evaluation of sorts. And I don't want to discount, I know Kathleen has been looking at this for a while, and she's coming at it from her approach, and other members have too. But I think as a board, I think we could probably use some assessment, some more data, some more facts.
Mhm.
It couldn't hurt anything. I know there's a lot of momentum behind this and people want to do this, but we do have an in-law apartment article, a bylaw that's in existence. They're happening all the time. We have 30 of them in town right now. It's not like we don't have something in place. This is going to be possibly the new thing that replaces that, or it's going to be something that works alongside it. So,
from my perspective, I think that may be wise. I mean, I just go back to the old adage, marry in haste, repent in leisure. Maybe we should, I know there's momentum, but when the locomotive is going down the hill, and you can put the air brakes on, when it's still going down rather than it gets to the bottom and kills somebody. So I think that this might not be ill-advised, and I have not taken a sense of the Warrant Committee on this, but I dare say if I were to do so, you might find a large number of membership in favor of gathering a little more data before we move forward, before we recommend moving forward. I shouldn't say we, because it's not our job to decide, but it would help us a lot. It would help me a lot. And we've looked at this every time it's come up, and I do not absolutely want to minimize the effort that Kathleen particularly has done, and the rest of you have done, because we understand what it's like to do this sort of work, okay? But having the data, which we get when we look at the town budget and so many other things that have to do with the business of the town, is enormously helpful. So for what it's worth, and one thing that we can do is help to find the funding for that, because I think we'd all be disposed favorably if it's going to be constructive to the decision to urging the town and the administrator and to squeeze the money from somewhere.
I think that would be great. And I also want to commend the planning staff, because this isn't for lack of trying on their part. I mean, they are dealing with, half of the nights they were on a planning board meeting with me, they're also on a zoning board meeting with the pending 40B proposal. So it's just been, at different times, we would have been able to get more studies in and so forth. And so I really don't want to, I don't want, this is nobody's fault. We're in a
No.
good position.
Yeah,
And,
we're
and I
not-
know
we're
we're
not-
not where we want to be yet, but
Yeah.
we're in a good position. And
We're not ascribing
Yeah.
blame here. That's not the
Yeah.
issue. The issue is getting the business done. And
Yeah.
we appreciate the work that you do, and God knows you're in the middle of it. And we're still peripheral because we haven't seen the final result. And the final result is what will make everybody comfortable, or at least the majority comfortable. I don't know that we're there yet.
And I will say that I think, I know at least one other member and so we might be in the minority, but we personally expressed that at the last meeting, that we in the very least wanted to have more public hearings, given the feedback that we've received. We had a lot of questions. We wanted to walk through the letters, and we wanted to walk through the comments from the Warrant Committee, and we really wanted to, vet this out even further, because we've only really been getting serious feedback since December 16th. So,
Well,
I mean,
So I'll let me open this up then. Since you're here, I don't want to take too much of your time, but I will open it up to the membership to comment on what you've heard and what we heard at the last meeting, to Denny to reflect back, because it may still be germane to do this. And I think we're well within our advisory capacity to give some feedback here, particularly in this official capacity, because we would be the ones who have to still make the recommendation to town meeting. So anyone with feedback or a question, while we have the chair of the planning board, it's not, Erin, I see your hand first, and then JJ.
I just have a quick question, Denny. I was one of the warrant committee members that was there before and after. It was a really interesting meeting, and I appreciate being able to see it. However, I stepped away for the vote because I was hungry and I went and made a sandwich. Can you tell me? I'm really sorry. I know it's on Milton Access TV, and I could fast
What
forward.
do you
to
mean?
it, but
After a 2-hour meeting, you were hungry? What's the matter with
I
you?
know, I know. Could you tell me how the vote went down? That's my only question. I know
Yeah.
I could get it off of Milton TV, but if you could save me some time.
absolutely happy to. And you deserve a sandwich whenever you need one.
Thank
So Rich Beeler, Cheryl Tagayas, and Kathleen O'Donnell all voted to move the article forward. Meredith Hall and I were a no vote on that, because we wanted more time, and we wanted more time for the public too. And I think these studies are a good idea. So that's
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. JJ, please, you have the floor.
Hi, Denny. Thanks for your work.
Oh, thank you, JJ. You too.
Thanks. I was just wondering if there's a study that's going to be authorized, do you have a company in mind, and do you have any sense of how long it would take?
I actually don't have a company in mind, and I mean, I would love to do some Milton specific assessment, even like looking into, like I mentioned, like just working with Bushway, our assessor, to try to figure out what this would mean. And then I also wanted to assess what other towns were doing as far as caps and needs-based. So I don't have a specific plan in mind, but I wanted to work with our town staff and see what they might advise for next steps.
Okay. I guess, the only concern I have is, I'm new to the Warrant Committee, but it seems like this issue's been kicked around for a while, and I worry that this will keep getting kicked around for another couple of years. Do you have a goal as far as time for when you want to bring this back up before us?
Well, it will be up to the planning board on Thursday to sort of have that discussion. I did mention at the last meeting that I thought that maybe the May warrant was a better spot, just given the details that I've given you. But I'm one of 5, and it could go in any direction. But I feel that we could try to tackle at least some of these issues and come up with some better solutions. And I just wanted to mention, there was an article last May, but we didn't start with that article. It's not like we picked up where we left off, although we all learned a great deal from that. a new article was presented in mid-November, or sometime in November. We didn't really get to start discussing it until mid-November, and then really get into the nitty-gritty until mid-December. And so it's not like any of this has been a straight line. It's been a work in progress from the get-go. And that I also want to just sort of mention, when it comes to zoning is a deliberative process. It's a long language process. It's a legal process. And it's not really intended to be a reactionary thing. And there are other things we do as a planning board that's very reactionary to an applicant in front of us. We have to be very reactionary, but zoning, in my mind, and I'm speaking for myself now, I really believe in dotting every I, crossing every T, and be taking, slow and steady finishes the race in my thinking. So
Anybody else? Thank you, JJ. Who else has a comment or a question? I think if it helps, Lynn, you have a question, or do you? No, maybe not. I will say this. I think if it is of any value to the planning board in our process, we like as much data as we have our hands on, and that we can get our hands on to help make this decision. And I think there are a couple of other members of the planning board who have tuned in as well. And for what it's worth, if there is the possibility of gathering more data and having a study done, we would be supportive of that. And I think that it's in the interest of the town to do it. Yes, we want to have it done, but we want to have it done as well as it can be for Milton's needs. We're not Needham, we're not Duxbury, we're not Brookline, we are Milton. We're different. We have a unique history. We have a very unique demography. We have an extremely unique physical setup with the MDC, or the Department of DCR owning basically managing a third of the town, which we get nothing for, basically. No commercial space, heavy residential, but people who take pride in the residential aspect of the town and are protective of it. I mean, to the extent that we morph into something that is going to be encouraging of lifestyles in the 21st century, that's great. And we recognize that what existed in the 1960s can't exist in the 21st century in 2022. We know that. But the reality is that there's a reason why people move to Milton, and that reason is the town itself, the integrity of the neighborhoods, the beauty of the town, that you're not elbow to elbow with people, et cetera. And I think that's something that would be of interest to us, to see a study that could outline how we get to an ADU that is going to accommodate these needs and future needs looking forward, and not be restrictive or regressive, but then again, not be so generous that it's abused. And I think that's always the risk. I think everybody recognizes. I mean, there's stuff that goes on in town that shouldn't already. I think we all know that. But the reality is, once you change something, whoosh, build the ark. The flood's coming. So I think that that is how I think I would respond at this point.
thank you.
Thank you.
I think that I know at least two of us are of the same mind. The two that didn't vote it forward, both of us stress that we do want an ADU. We believe that there can be a wonderful way to do accessory dwelling units, and we think we've learned a ton this past year, and we're ready to roll up our sleeves and get there. But the planning board may decide to move forward with this particular article in front of us at our next meeting. I do believe, though, that town council probably told you this too. If they were to go ahead, there would need to be another public hearing. That means posting it for 2 weeks. So there is a bit of a rigmarole ahead of us, no matter what.
What that means for us from a practical consideration, that would mean that we would be unable to make a comment for this warrant in all likelihood. It would be very hard to, because we're running up against timelines and deadlines. And what we would be able to come up with would have to be a green sheet or something like that, and the deliberation, because we're smacking budget once we finish with this. And again, you have to do what you and the planning board consider to be the right thing. But again, there are practical aspects of these. If it's a delay of 2 weeks, that complicates our ability to process this. And we will have a discussion at the warrant committee, not dissimilar to one that you have had. And if we move forward and it goes to the town meeting, you can imagine what the town meeting will be like. It's I don't want to use the word food fight, but I mean, Animal House is one of my favorite movies, and we're all kind of, some of us like that imagery too. It will be very, very robust discussion, to say the least. And so we'll all have to block off probably 2 weeks in February for that one, or actually the beginning of March. So anybody's got a March Florida vacation or someplace warm, forget it. At least we'll be remote, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So anyway, from that perspective, let us know, and we will try to accommodate as much as we can, given the restrictions that we have and the constraints for our scheduling and our drafting. But again, we support the process. We know it's not easy, and again, good luck with it. Keep up the good work, and thanks for the effort and the diligence that you put in, and that the entire committee puts in. I don't think a lot of people appreciate, particularly, what the planning board goes through.
Well, I wanted to let you know that I do very much appreciate the warrant committee, and listening to your discussions was actually really helpful for me, and it helped me kind of think through our process a lot better. So I just wanted to thank you. One of the things I noticed was, Henny said that you might have to kind of walk through a point by point, what happens if this happens, what happens if
Yes.
that happens. And so I would, and that's kind of what I started to think about, if some members have described, we'll put the article forward and let the town meeting decide. We're divided on as of right or special permit, so let the town meeting decide. So that would be the first plateau, let's say. And then the next plateau could be town meeting should decide if ADU should be limited to family members and caregivers, or should it be open market rentals? And then, but then after I got the out of scope issue today, I thought, well, do we in fact will town meeting actually be able to decide as of right or special permit? Because one of them will be out of scope if you try to change it, I'm guessing. I don't know. But these are the kind of questions that I'm going to ask Kevin Freitag, town council, on Thursday, is that I think people were imagining not a menu, but just kind of like, well, you can choose, or I guess you could say, well, if you don't like something, you just throw the baby out with the bathwater. And but then there was, and then another plateau would be the cap of 10. And then they vote the whole article up or down, so what it's like. But there's a lot of steps in this one, and then there's a lot of plateaus, and there's a lot of risks every time you have those kind of unknowns.
Yes.
So
And it's hard to go into something of this nature with so many changes that's utterly airtight. The number of edits that you would have, friendly amendments, not friendly amendments. It can be a challenge. There's no question about that. But look, good luck with all this. We'll look forward to hearing what you have to say. We'll postpone our vote on this until we hear further from you, and we will be keeping our votive candles blazing for you.
Well, thank you so much, and please thank all your members for me. I very much appreciate working with you.
Look, it's helpful when you come and talk to us. It makes it a lot easier for us to understand the dynamics as well as the issues. So thank you very much, and glad you're feeling better.
Oh, thank you, and I look forward to coming back as soon as you invite me.
Thank you so much. We'll see you. Take it easy.
Okay. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so let us return to the hospital memory care unit. We have the language. Lynn, can you put it up on the screen, please? There we go. Okay, this is the language. Ned, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm with you. That's the language.
This is the proper language. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All righty. And we just have to make sure that Kevin gets this. We can vote on this now then, if that's the case. Okay, and the change is, can you scroll down? We just see where that changes.
Well, if you sit right at the top,
Yep.
it formerly said assisted living, special care, memory care, residence development.
And this
We
just
struck-
excised the assisted living part?
We struck the reference to assisted living,
Yep, okay.
and it is simply because it was clear that this was going to be from special care, memory care only.
Yep,
And so we made that clear. There are a couple of other minor modifications that were made, but this is the correct. That was the major change, and this is the correct line.
okay. All righty. So are we all clear? Everybody sees this, that one change was excising assisted living, and which we weren't voting on anyway, because we didn't assume it was assisted living. We knew it was memory care from the get-go. So at this point, we just need a motion to approve this for sending it to town meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Lorraine. Do we have a second?
Second,
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any more discussion on this, the memory care unit for the town? I will go back to my comment. Whoever drafts the opinion for this, I would like it to be clear that the representation was made to us that there would be preference given to Milton residents or the children, adult children, or parents of adult children who may need this service. And to urge that that is carried through by whichever licensing or granting authority is engaged to contract with the owners and operators of this facility. I just want that to be in the minutes, and I want it to be clear that that's one of the provisions that is important to this warrant committee and that we considered as part of our discussion. Okay, anything further? Otherwise, Lynn, you can take a roll, please.
George,
Yes. Oh,
John.
sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, Lynn, excise me. I have to recuse myself. My wife has privileges at Milton Hospital.
John,
yes.
Christine. Lorraine,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
JJ,
Recused?
Dave,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
and Erin.
I guess the right term for us would be abstention. For me, anyway, would be abstention rather than recusal, because I can talk about it. I just choose not to vote. So I think those three are okay. I have no idea. Okay, thank you, Lynn. You can take that down and put us back up. I don't know exactly what we should be doing about the accessory dwelling unit other than waiting to see what happens. I think there's a likelihood that if town council says that the changes are out of scope, there just won't be time for them to redraft, and either we vote on what we have in front of us or they'll withdraw it. In which case, we just have to stay tuned for their meeting on Wednesday. So I think what we will need to do is have another meeting on Monday next, just to be safe, to schedule it. Which will, then I think the sole item on the agenda will be accessory dwelling unit at that point, because at that, on that day, we will have to be drafting relatively quickly because we have to get this thing in by week's end, I think, to the printer. Lynn, is that right? What is the date we have to have our draft to the timetable? I know the 26th we're reviewing it.
Yes, so if you were to meet the 17th, if everybody could get comments to me by the 21st.
We
that'd be-
can't meet the 17th. That's MLK Day.
Oh,
That's
that's
true.
right. I'm sorry, it's a legal holiday. So is everybody okay with a Tuesday night meeting? Again, it should not be a long meeting, assuming what's going on. So if we can meet Tuesday, Lynn, you're going to be gone, right? Are you back?
No, I'll be gone.
You'll be gone. Okay. So if we meet, I'm afraid I'm going to have to impose on you, Erin, as secretary to take the minutes. Is that
I can
okay?
do that. Yeah, it's totally fine. For Tuesday, the 18th?
Yeah, perfect. So Lynn, if we can put together the agenda to set that around for the 18th, a week from tomorrow. and then we can meet as a group. We'll know by then what's happening with the accessory dwelling unit. In the meanwhile, we have these 3 items: the sewer betterment, the hospital memory care, and the liquor license at 1 Elliott for comments to be drafted. I would like to assign those tonight if we can.
Mr.
I can
Chair,
write-
I'm sorry,
Yes.
there's a real bad echo.
Yeah, can somebody mute something somewhere?
I'm sorry, I just wanted to say for Tuesday, I can't make that meeting. I don't think that stops you from meeting, but I can't make it.
Oh, I appreciate knowing that. JJ will miss you, but we do kind of have to meet that day because every day is going to count for us. So we have these 3 articles: sewer betterment, hospital memory care, and the liquor license at Elliott Street, which would
Good.
include, yeah, John.
I'll take the sewer betterment.
Okay, thank you. That's great.
And can I say something? Can I
Please.
say some- if they go to meetings and have someone do some planning, this out of dwelling unit article could be 2 or 3 years away.
It's taken them, look, we've already seen it. I think we started seeing it a year and a half ago, so I'm not surprised. This is a fundamental shift. So your sense may be right that it's going to take a while because
And no
this
one's
is a
even
complicated.
mentioned traffic. No one's even mentioned traffic. Even if you add like 10 different dwellings, just look at Canton Ave when school gets out. It takes you six sets of lights to get through that light.
Yeah,
And
it's
then at the
become very
library
frustrating.
early in the morning, it take you like 7 times at that light to get through it.
It's extremely frustrating, and the number of lights that now, I mean, they're putting another set down at Adams Street, and there's more at Blue Hill Parkway and Truman Parkway. It's you just wish you had stock in the company that made traffic lights.
But there's more to it than just, there's more behind all this too. There's more
Oh, I have no,
ramifications.
look, everybody has an agenda, right? Our agenda has to be trying to do the right thing as objectively as we can. So anyway, we'll just have to stay tuned on that accessory dwelling unit. So sewer betterment, John will do. How do we have a volunteer for the hospital memory care unit drafting? Some brave soul want to take that in?
Ned can't draft it?
Not the comment. That would be a little self-serving, but we can't.
Mr. Chair, this is Dave Humphreys. I'll do it if you like.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. I appreciate you stepping up. That's great. And then the home rule, the liquor license for 1 Elliott. Is anybody interested in doing that?
I'll do
I
it.
can do it.
Kathy.
Right.
Kathy, thank you very much. Okay, so Lynn, when would you like? What is optimum to have the comments in?
Sorry, George. If you could have them to me by the 21st, please. So if you were to meet the 18th and then have the comments to me by the 21st, that'd be great.
That helps me because I have to draft the letter, which I like, and I like to incorporate sometimes some of the things that are said in the comments as well. I don't want to be at odds with the comments. All right, so I think that we stay tuned for the accessory dwelling unit. If it's withdrawn, we'll still have a very brief meeting on Tuesday just for our organizational purposes, put us in line for the budget and to give an update on other things that might come through. But if the accessory dwelling unit is brought back by the planning board, that makes things a little easier for us. It'll be a shorter time meeting for sure. Anyway, I don't think we have anything else on the agenda. Does anybody have any questions or any issues or any concerns that we have to address before we adjourn?
George, is there any update on when we might see any of the budgets?
Budget's supposed to be coming through, they said, by the 1st of February.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that we get drips and drabs, but we will line up Mike Dennehy or whomever he feels necessary, and certainly Karen, to come and give us the overview because we really have to get started on that. But we'll be able to move, once we get through this, we'll be able to move quickly on that. All righty, listen, thank you all very much. If we have no other business, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Thank you. Lynn, you want to take the roll? Please.
quit.
George.
Yes, not that you quit, but yes to adjourn.
John,
Yes.
Christine, Lorraine,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
JJ,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
Erin.
Yes.
Thank you all. You know, and this is really a shame we can't charge for this award show because I think people would pony up for it. We're giving town government a good name and trying to inject a little humor into it after all. So for all of you guys out there in TV land, thanks for joining us. This meeting is adjourned. Thanks all. Have a good week and stay warm.
Mr.
Okay.
Chair, JJ's hand is up.
Oh,
sorry.
it's okay. Don't worry. It's not an important question.
Oh,
Have
JJ,
fun.
I'm sorry. You have something to say? I thought your hand's been up for a while.
Yeah. What do we do when we get the budget? What happens? Like, do
Oh,
we-
then we get presentations by the,
Oh.
what happens, oh, you're in for some fun.
Party
Yes.
begins.
Very simply, very quickly, the department heads come in and present to us, and justify the numbers and explain exactly what's going on. Then we talk about how it all works. You know, do you really need this? Is that what are you getting enough of what you need, et cetera? And the subcommittees actually go through the individual budgets with in some detail, particularly the schools and public safety and DPW. Those are the biggest, so that we understand precisely what the needs are. And we usually have at least 2 meetings just for the school budget because it's that significant a component of it. But fasten your seatbelt. It's a fun ride.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Good night,
Bye.
everybody.
Night.
Thanks very much.